Red Voyage News, splash on the check-in. Thank you for tuning in. I have an article right here brought to you by CNN.com. Divorces fall 70% in China after government orders couples to cool off. Now, if you don't know, I used to live in Beijing, China, and I've traveled to different towns and cities within the country of China. And one thing for sure is that families that split apart on the continent of Asia is still considered taboo. All right. Even though the divorce rate is growing and the amount of women that are, on the continent of Asia that are adopting the modern Western society feminist mindset is growing, it's still considered taboo out here. To split your family apart, the community looks down upon you, especially when the women are the ones filing for divorce out here. When the woman filed for divorce, the community really looks down upon you, and it's hard for them to remarry or start a new family. The best they can do is find love with a foreigner. I'll never forget years ago, when I used to teach in China, I remember the staff that came to me and said, hey, one of the students, can you be mindful of her feelings today and go easy on her? Her mother and father is getting a divorce. And in my mind, I'm like, okay. And so, because coming from the West, the divorce rate is over 50%, probably in the 60% percentile range. Excuse me. But they had to, pretty much explain to me like, no, divorce, a family to split apart out here like that's taboo. So now, they have this law to where the Chinese government is implementing that married couples that are trying to file for divorce, they have to go through a 30-day cool down period to reconcile their differences. And it's worked. 70% of the couples who filed for divorce after 30 days said, hey, you know what? We thought about it. We came to terms like, hey, we need to keep this family together, and that's what we're going to do. Now, that's 70% that said, hey, we're going to decide to stay together. If they went to counseling or whatever, did the romance spark again? Are they going to become more sexually active or whatever? Who knows? All right. But according to stats, data, and statistics, there are a lot of sexless marriages out here on the continent of Asia. And to be honest, marriage isn't all about, love. There comes a point in time in a marriage where it's not really about love or that spark, that romance. It's about leaving a legacy, family. All right. Now, when I lived in China, at the time when I was there were 40 million more men than women. At that time, the population was real high. The government said, hey, we have to control how many kids certain families have. It was a lottery toss-up. Certain families could only have one child. Certain families can only have two children. But no family in the country of China could have more than two children. In most recent years, they've said that, okay, those families that could only have one child, now they can have two children. Okay. Each and every family can have two kids now. So the population has increased, but these families, they still want boys. The boys carry that last name, and those last names are serious in China and in Asia. Last names are serious because last names, it's all about class. Somebody can read your last name in different countries in Asia and could tell what class they're in, what tax bracket their family is in. And then on top of that, like when they get married, most of the time, the wife leaves her family, lives with her husband, and the husband has his parents, the grandparents, they stay with the married couple and they babysit the children while the married couple goes out to work. Now, some families I've seen that they've had, the husband and the wife's parents live with them in one big house one big apartment, and they take care of the child. They help raise the child. It's very deep, but they still want boys. And the thing is 40 million more men than women. That number just might increase. But for the women that are living in China, look how many options they have. They have millions and millions and millions and millions of options, plus access to social media. Now, even though Western social media platforms, websites are banned in the country of China, they work around that. Trust me, most people there, they work around that. They're not buying, $1,500 iPhones because it's more expensive in China. China, they'll produce and manufacture the iPhones, ship it over to America. Then America sells the iPhones back to China. Therefore, they have to increase the price for their citizens in their country so that they can make a profit. That's why you see a lot of people in China, they hustle iPhones. They'll go to Hong Kong and buy iPhones for much cheaper, then go to the mainland and then sell it to people there. But they're not buying these $1,500 iPhones just so that they can only surf through Chinese websites all day and not use Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Like, there's a workaround. So a lot of women are influenced by Western ideology by way of media. All right. And with millions of different options that they have in China, you see a lot of single women. Like, a man has to be at their call and beckon. Okay. I've seen young girls who were in sexless relationships with their boyfriends for years just because they could, the amount of options they had. The average woman's standards in China is very, very high, especially in the big city. What are we on, the iPhone 12 now? If you show up to a woman, if you're a man, you work, whatever, your average man, but you show up to a woman with an iPhone 8 or an iPhone 10 or an iPhone 11, she like, nah, I don't want you. Because that was last year's model. That was a model from 2-3 years ago. In her mind, she's like, okay, he doesn't have any money. He doesn't have enough money for me. You don't have a car? I don't want you. And if you do have a car, if you do have a little bit of money, you have to take me shopping when I want to go shopping. You have to take me to my doctor's appointments, my dentist appointments, whenever I need to go. You need to drive me to work, and you need to pick me up. You need to spoil me, do this, that, and the third. And if you hang around long enough, I just might give you some sex. And I've known guys who were in these 5, 6, 7-year relationships in China, and they never had sex with their girlfriend. Now, was she getting it somewhere else? Who knows? But a lot of women, they have that control over the men in the country of China. And what happens when you see some of these women, when they're like, you know what? Chinese men, they're not good enough for me. I'll just get with a foreigner. What happens when you see Chinese women with foreigners? People from America, people from Canada, people from Europe, different countries in Europe, Russia. What happens when you see a Chinese woman with a Western foreigner in the country of China? Well, there's outrage. By everybody? No, but there are certain individuals that will call women out if they see them with a foreigner. Hell, you have different mobs that will attack the woman and her boyfriend or her husband because she's with the foreigner. You don't believe me? All right, 1 second. So we have this article right here, Sanlitun. Sanlitun is the foreign district in Beijing. Okay, that's where a lot of nightclubs are, bars, you name it. Okay, I used to hang out in Sanlitun all the time. This couple right here, they were married, living in Beijing. Okay, there was some crazed man, some delusional man who was outside. He was Chinese. He had a sword. Nobody checked him. It was like, okay, what's this dude doing outside with a sword? Nobody said anything to him. When he saw both of them walking past him, he held out his sword and said, hey, and he spoke in Chinese to her. He was like, is that your boyfriend? Or is that your husband? Are you with him? She looked at him and ignored him and kept walking. The man with the sword walked up to her, stabbed her to death. All because she was married to a foreigner. These type of things happen in China. So the Chinese government, they were looking for any solution to try to keep marriages together. Because like if you break up with your family, a lot of Chinese men, they have very high standards as well. If you broke your family apart, then a lot of these Chinese men, they don't care how young or how fine you are. They're like, okay, I'm not getting with you. I'm not being a stepdad to you and your kids. Asian men don't play that. Now, if it's an Asian person of another nationality, which is still classified as a foreigner, they might go. But the citizens of China, no, they're not going for that. So when you break your family apart, especially a woman, and you break your family apart, the community really loses respect for you. And it's like, okay, who are you going to get with? The best you can get with is a foreigner. And in China, getting with the foreigners looked down upon. It's not like how, out west, it's normal now to see interracial marriages, interracial couples. In Asia, no. Especially if you get with a black foreigner, the community is even more pissed. Like, subscribe, comment, share this video. I'm over and I'm out. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this article right here. Peace.